Do you have what it takes to explore the unknown? Are you ready to discover something amazing? Hey, are you there? Yes, you. Come on, don't just stand there. Join us because we're about to go on an incredible journey to the center of the Earth. Professor Lidenbrock is one of the smartest scientists in the world, but he's also a little bit weird. He collects weird rocks, makes strange potions, and talks to his robot bird like it's a real animal. His nephew Max often rolls his eyes at his uncle's antics, but secretly he loves spending time with him. One day, Professor Lidenbrock was examining a strange ancient book when suddenly a secret map fell out of it. The map showed a path leading deep inside an inactive volcano in Iceland, and according to legend, untold riches lay at the center of the volcano. Now, Professor Lidenbrock couldn't resist the chance to explore a mysterious volcano, so he immediately called his nephew Max and told him to pack his bags. They were going on an adventure. Max was excited, but he had one question. "How are we going to get to the center of the volcano?" he asked. "Don't worry, my boy," said the professor. "I already have a plan." He led Max to his garage, where he revealed a strange vehicle covered in a sheet. When Max pulled the sheet off, he couldn't believe his eyes. It looked like a giant metal bird. "This is our ticket to the center of the Earth," said the professor proudly. "I call it the Volcanaut." Max was impressed, but he still had one question. "Will it fly?" he asked. The professor smiled mysteriously and said, "Only one way to find out." He got into the Volcanaut, pressed a big red button, and the vehicle began to move. It shot forward, flew up into the air, and landed with a bump on the roof of their house. Oops, looks like the Volcanaut needed some fine-tuning. After several failed attempts and many crashes, the Volcanaut was finally ready to take off. Professor Lidenbrock, his nephew Max, and their trusty robot bird Gizmo were on their way to the mysterious volcano. As they approached the volcano, they could feel the heat coming from its depths. "Are you sure this is safe?" asked Max nervously. "Of course it is," replied the professor. "Just remember, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure." Suddenly, the Volcanaut began to shake violently. "Uh-oh," said the professor. "It looks like we've entered the volcano." Then everything went black. When Max opened his eyes, he found himself in a dark cave. "Where are we?" he asked. "We've entered the volcano's inner chamber," said the professor. "And look," Max exclaimed, "it's full of glowing crystals." The crystals were beautiful, but they were also dangerous. If they touched the wrong one, it could cause an explosion that would blow the top off of the volcano. Suddenly, they heard a loud rumble. "Quick! We need to find somewhere to hide," said the professor. They ran to a nearby cave and hid. As they waited for whatever was making the noise to pass, they heard a deep voice say, "Who's there?" Max and the professor froze. Was it a caveman? A dinosaur? What should they do? Hello," said Max. "It's just me, Max, and this is my uncle, Professor Lidenbrock. We're just exploring your cave." The voice laughed. "Exploring my cave? You'll be the first humans to set foot in here. In millions of years, welcome to the Stone Age." Then out of the darkness stepped a group of friendly cave people. They welcomed Max and the professor to their home and offered them food and water. The professor was fascinated by the cave people and their way of life. He asked them all sorts of questions about their customs and traditions. Meanwhile, Max couldn't help but stare at the cave paintings on the walls. They were beautiful works of art. Suddenly, the ground began to shake again. "What's happening?" Max asked nervously. "It's nothing to worry about," said one of the cave people. "It's just our friend Tremor. He gets a little excited sometimes." Just then, a giant prehistoric creature stomped into the cave. It looked like a rhinoceros, but with spikes on its back. "Don't be afraid," said the cave person. "He's harmless, mostly." Tremor snorted and the cave people laughed. The professor was amazed by all the strange creatures that lived in the volcano. He took notes and made sketches of each one. He couldn't wait to show them to the world, but it was time for Max and the professor to go. They said goodbye to the cave people and got into the Volcanaut. As they flew through the volcano, they saw more amazing things, like underground lakes and rivers, huge stalactites and stalagmites, and even a waterfall that flowed upwards. Finally, they reached the center of the earth. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. There were rivers of molten lava, huge geysers, and mountains of precious metals and gems. But the most amazing thing was the energy. It was everywhere. The air crackled with electricity, and the temperature was incredibly hot. Suddenly, Gizmo, the robot bird, swooped down from the sky. "Look, there's something over there," he said. "It looks like a city." Max and the professor looked in the direction that Gizmo was pointing and couldn't believe what they were seeing. It was a city made entirely of metal. It looked like it was straight out of a science fiction movie. "Wow," whispered Max. "How can there be a city here?" The professor had an idea. "Let's go closer and see if we can find anyone around." As they approached the city, they saw strange symbols on the buildings. "Do you think anyone lives here?" Max asked. "I don't know," replied the professor. "But let's find out." He landed the Volcanaut near a building that looked like a palace. Then he and Max got out and started to explore. As they walked through the city, they found all sorts of strange machines and devices. There were robots, computers, even a spaceship. It was like the people who lived here had advanced technology beyond anything they had in the world above. But where were they now? Did they leave the city, or were they still there? Suddenly, Max heard a noise. He turned around and saw a robot walking towards him. "Hello," said Max. The robot stopped and stared at them for a moment. Then it spoke. "Greetings, humans. I am a guardian of this city. How can I help you?" Max and the professor were shocked. A talking robot. "We're just exploring," said Max. "Exploring? There is nothing to explore here. Everything is destroyed." "What happened here?" Max asked. The robot shook its head. "I do not know. My memory banks are incomplete." Suddenly, the robot's head began to glow red. "Warning! Intruders detected," it said. "I must destroy you." Max and the professor ran for their lives. They dodged robots and machines, trying to stay out of sight. They didn't know how much longer they could keep this up. Then Max had an idea. He remembered seeing a large machine earlier. It looked like a giant computer. Maybe they could use it to contact the outside world and someone could help them. As they approached the machine, the robot pursuing them arrived. "There is nowhere left for you to hide," it said. But Max wasn't listening. He had already begun working on the machine. Suddenly, it sprang to life and a message appeared. "Help!" it said. "Send help!" Then the machine began to glow brightly. "I'm picking up a distress signal," said Gizmo. "Someone's coming." Just then, the entrance to the city opened and a team of scientists and adventurers arrived. "You're safe now," said one of the scientists. "We received your message and came as soon as we could." Max and the professor were relieved. Finally, they could go home. As they prepared to leave, the professor couldn't help but look back at the city. "It's a shame this place is abandoned," he said. "Imagine all the knowledge and technology that could be recovered here." Suddenly, Gizmo flew down from the sky. "Look, there's something in this building," he said. "It looks like a library." The professor's eyes lit up. A library? That sounds fascinating. He ran into the building and began to examine the books. "Wow," he said, "these could be some of the most important books in the world." He quickly began making notes and copying down information. Then Professor Lidenbrock pulled out a remote control and pressed a big red button. This triggered an animation of the YouTube subscribe button appearing on screen. Gizmo the bird then flew in, tapped the subscribe button and bell icon with his beak, while saying, "Join us for more amazing adventures."